Liora had always felt the pull of the unknown, a magnetic tug at the edge of her mind that whispered of secrets hidden in shadows. From the moment she first heard the legend of Pandora's box, she knew that her destiny was intertwined with it. It was said that the box contained the most powerful forces the world had ever known, a vessel of both unimaginable beauty and unthinkable horror. The elders spoke of it in hushed tones, warning that interstellar, the bravest souls who dared approach it risked losing themselves forever. But for Liora, the warnings were mere challenges, temptations that ignited a fire she could not ignore. Her journey began on a night when the moon hung low and swollen over the jagged cliffs of Eldoria, the winds carrying whispers from forgotten realms. She carried only a leather satchel, a dagger forged from starlight, and her unshakable resolve. The path to the box was said to be impossible, buried beneath layers of magic, traps, and riddles designed to deter anyone unworthy. Yet Liora's heart raced, not with fear, but with anticipation. Every step she took over the twisted roots of ancient trees and crumbling stone brought her closer to the place where reality and myth blurred. The forest around her seemed alive, shifting with every movement, watching, waiting. Shadows moved as if they had their own minds, testing her courage. When she reached the heart of the forest, she found a cavern hidden behind a waterfall that shimmered like liquid silver in the moonlight. The entrance was etched with symbols older than time, their meanings almost forgotten, but Liora felt them resonate within her. She touched the carvings, feeling a pulse of energy that surged through her veins, and the waterfall parted, revealing a narrow passage that descended deep into the earth. The air was thick with the scent of moss and ancient magic. Each step echoed like a heartbeat, and the deeper she went, the more the darkness seemed to twist and curl around her. Then she saw it, resting upon a pedestal carved from obsidian, the Pandora's box. It was smaller than she imagined, yet it radiated power that made the hair on her arms stand on end. The box was covered in intricate patterns that seemed to writhe, almost alive, and a faint hum emanated from it, like a song of warning. Liora's hand hovered over it, trembling not with fear, but with awe. She knew that opening it could unleash horrors upon the world, yet the lure was irresistible. Memories of the stories she had heard, of plagues, of wars, of despair, clashed with the vision of untold knowledge, of secrets that could reshape reality itself. With a deep breath, she lifted the lid. For a moment, there was nothing. Then a gust of wind exploded from the box, carrying with it voices that whispered every fear, every regret, every longing that had ever existed. Shadows swirled around her, taking forms that clawed at her sanity. But Liora stood firm, focusing on the light that burned within her. She realized that the power of the box was not merely in destruction. It was a test of will, a crucible for those brave enough to wield it. The shadows lunged, whispering promises of power if she surrendered, but she struck them with the dagger of starlight, each strike dispelling the darkness for a heartbeat. She understood then that she could not simply open the box. She had to master it, to bend its chaos without letting it consume her. Hours, or perhaps days, passed as she wrestled with the swirling forces, the cavern itself quivering under the strain. Her mind teetered on the edge of madness, yet within the storm she found clarity. She spoke aloud, her voice cutting through the tumult, commanding the energies not with force, but with understanding. The box responded, and the shadows dissolved into sparks of light, each one whispering a fragment of ancient knowledge. Liora absorbed them, feeling the weight of centuries of wisdom settle upon her shoulders. With great effort, she closed the box, sealing the chaos within once more. But now she carried a piece of its power in her own heart, a power tempered by courage, tempered by compassion. Emerging from the cavern, she felt the forest alive in a new way, as if the world itself recognized her triumph. She knew the journey had changed her, forged her into someone capable of bearing burdens too great for ordinary mortals. Yet she also knew that the world would never be the... Liora's ascent was perilous. Each stair creaked under her weight, shadows stretching unnaturally, forming shapes that twisted and lunged, each one a reflection of fears she had long buried. She fought them with her dagger, each strike leaving trails of light that vanished as quickly as they appeared. The higher she climbed, the more intense the visions became. Memories not her own flooding her mind, voices screaming secrets she could barely understand. At one point, she stumbled, fell against the cold stone, the box threatening to burst from its binding. It whispered urgently now, not with the chaotic menace of before, but with purpose, as if guiding her to confront something she could not yet see. At the pinnacle of the tower, a chamber opened before her, vast and impossibly high, filled with swirling energies that defied comprehension. In the center floated a crystal orb, glowing with the same light as the box, but infinitely brighter, infinitely more dangerous. Liora felt her knees weaken as the box vibrated furiously, as if recognizing its counterpart. The orb spoke without words, flooding her mind with visions of calamity, civilizations collapsing. Like and subscribe if you liked the story. Comment for us, my friend. Storms tearing across continents, shadows devouring light. It was as if the world itself had been waiting for someone to wield the power of the box, and now it was testing her. Liora steeled herself. She realized that opening a path to the orb without preparation could destroy everything she loved. She took a deep breath, reached for the box, and let her mind merge with its essence, feeling every shadow, every spark of light, every fragment of knowledge. The forces inside the box did not resist. They danced with her will, seeking direction, seeking mastery. With careful focus, she extended the power outward, forming a bridge between the box and the orb. Energy crackled like lightning, filling the chamber with a sound that was neither roar nor whisper, but something beyond language. Suddenly, the shadows coalesced into a figure, a being of darkness, more than human, more than spirit. Its eyes burned with hunger and intelligence. "You dare!" it hissed, and the very air seemed to shiver. "You, a mortal, think to command the forces of eternity?" Liora stood firm, the box glowing against her chest, its energy thrumming in resonance with her heartbeat. "I do not command," she said, voice steady. "I understand, and I will contain what must be contained." The figure lunged, a wave of shadow that could have torn her body apart, but Liora's dagger flared with starlight, cutting through the darkness. Sparks of the box flew, clashing with the shadow like stars against the void. Hours or moments, time itself seemed to warp past as they battled, each strike pushing her closer to exhaustion, each counterstrike revealing more of her inner strength. Finally, with a surge of will she didn't know she possessed, Liora channeled every fragment of the box's power into a beam of light that enveloped the figure. It screamed, a sound that shook the chamber to its foundation, and then it dissolved into nothingness, leaving only silence and the pulsing glow of the box. Liora collapsed, trembling, but victorious. The orb dimmed, recognizing her mastery, and slowly descended into her hands, merging with the box in a fusion of light and shadow. She felt the knowledge of ages flow into her mind, a torrent of wisdom and responsibility. The power was immense, intoxicating, yet she knew that she must remain vigilant. The world outside waited, oblivious to the cataclysm that had nearly been unleashed. Liora stepped out of the tower, the valley bathed in golden sunlight, and for the first time in days, she allowed herself a small, weary smile. She carried not just the box, but the burden. Remain vigilant. The world outside waited, oblivious to the cataclysm that had nearly been unleashed. Liora stepped out of the tower, the valley bathed in golden sunlight, and for the first time in days, she allowed herself a small, weary smile. She carried not just the box, but the burden of its secret, a promise to protect the fragile balance of the world from forces that would destroy it if left unchecked. The journey was far from over. Liora knew that shadows still lingered, that whispers in the wind could lure the unprepared into ruin, and that every choice she made would echo through the ages. But she also knew that she had faced the impossible, and that she had emerged stronger, wiser, and unbroken. And so she walked on, the forest alive with silent acknowledgement, the box at her side, a beacon of hope and a reminder that courage is the true measure of power, that destiny is forged by those who dare to face the darkness within and without, and that even in the shadow of chaos, one soul can stand as the guardian of all that is precious, and the legend of Liora would be written in the echoes of eternity, a tale of fire, shadow, and light intertwined, unyielding, eternal. The world outside the forest seemed quiet, deceptively calm, as if it had no idea of the forces that had been stirred, contained, and now pulsing silently in the hands of one mortal. Liora moved swiftly, the box secure in her satchel. The orb merged into its essence, a fusion of light and shadow vibrating with power that could remake or unravel reality. She knew the shadows were not gone. They were watching, waiting, testing. The first sign came in the form of the wind, a scream that cut through the trees like shattered glass, twisting the branches as though alive, guiding her toward the mountains in the distance. She understood instinctively that this was no ordinary call. Something colossal had awakened, drawn by the box's presence. She raced through the valleys, past rivers that glittered unnaturally under the sun, past cliffs that seemed to lean toward her, as if eager to see the confrontation. The closer she got to the mountains, the heavier the air became, thick with an energy that made her bones hum and her thoughts tremble. Then she saw it, a chasm of darkness splitting the highest peak, spiraling upward, lightning-like veins of shadow and fire writhing across its edges. From within, it came a roar so deep it shook the earth itself, a sound that threatened to tear the very sky. The box vibrated violently, recognizing its ultimate adversary, the entity that had been bound millennia ago, whose prison she had unwittingly approached. Liora's heart pounded, but fear did not hold her. She had faced shadows before, but this was the crucible, the apex of all she had prepared for. She stepped forward, and the winds responded, swirling around her, lifting her hair and cloak, as if the mountain itself acknowledged her courage. As she ascended the jagged cliffs toward the chasm, the ground beneath her feet twisted, forming jagged obstacles and shifting paths. Shadows lunged from the rocks, monstrous forms that had no names, no faces, only hunger and malice. Liora's dagger flared with starlight, each strike illuminating the darkness just enough to carve a path forward. Sparks of the box shot into the shadows, and with each clash, fragments of whispers, the knowledge she had absorbed, guided her strikes. She leaped over a yawning fissure and landed on the opposite cliff with the precision of someone who had been honed by trials too severe for ordinary mortals. Then the air shimmered, and she saw it, the entity rising from the chasm, larger than any mountain, wings of darkness spanning the sky, eyes burning with the fury of centuries. Its voice echoed in her mind, not in words, but in a force that shook her very soul. "You dare to defy me, mortal. The box is mine. All must succumb." The ground cracked beneath her as she stood her ground, lifting the box, feeling its resonance harmonize with her courage. Light burst from it, pure and unyielding, pushing against the darkness like a tidal wave. The entity lashed out with claws that could rip mountains apart, but Liora moved with agility, born of desperation and determination, each step a dance between life and annihilation. She called upon the wisdom within the box, the ancient whispers guiding her hands, and with a mighty throw, she unleashed a beam of pure starlight, piercing the heart of the darkness. The creature roared, a sound that threatened to break her ears and shatter her mind, but she held firm, letting the box's energy flow through her, merging with her will. The battle was cataclysmic, shaking the mountains, twisting the sky, bending reality around them. Shadows clashed with light, fire and wind collided, and Liora felt herself being pulled into the vortex of the entity's power. She realized that brute force alone would not win this fight. She needed cunning, understanding, and unshakable focus. Drawing a deep breath, she remembered the lesson the box had imparted in the tower. Power without mastery is chaos. She reached into the depths of the box, drawing not just light, but the harmony of shadow contained, weaving them together in a delicate balance. The entity shrieked as it felt its dominion threatened, but Liora channeled the fusion of energies into a single blinding pulse, a wave of creation and destruction intertwined. The force struck the entity, and for a moment all seemed lost. Mountains quaked, the sky cracked, and the earth cried. Then, with a sound like the final note of a celestial symphony, the darkness unraveled, spiraling into the box itself. Trapped, contained, neutralized. Silence fell. The chasm closed slowly, leaving the mountain whole, as if the battle had never occurred. The air clearing, the world exhaling a sigh of relief. Liora fell to her knees, exhausted beyond measure, but victorious. She opened the box carefully, peering inside at the shadows now imprisoned, their power neutralized, but contained as a warning, a reminder, a tool for the future. She understood the weight of what she carried, the ability to shape the world, to protect it or to devastate, but she also understood the responsibility. Rising, she looked out across the horizon, the sun breaking over the peaks, light spilling across rivers and forests. The adventure was over, yet a new journey awaited, the guardianship of power, the vigilance against shadows that would never sleep, and the promise force to defend the fragile light of hope in a world that had almost been consumed. Liora took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the box calm against her chest, the weight of history and destiny settling